Most women past 60 quietly ask themselves the same questions. Why does it smell this way now? Why do I notice fluids on my underwear that never used to be there? Is this still normal, or is something wrong? But here's the strange thing. Instead of answers, what most women get are commercials for perfumed wipes, scented soaps, or powders that whisper, hide it, cover it, mask it. But what if the very thing you're trying to cover up is not only normal, but a sign your body is still working exactly as it should? Welcome back to the Female Health Podcast, where we break the silence about women's most intimate health questions. I'm Dr. Lia Parker, a gynecologist and intimate health psychologist with more than 30 years of experience helping women finally feel at ease in their own skin. And today we begin uncovering 14 hidden truths about smells, fluids, and hygiene after 60. I'll reveal them two at a time, because each one builds on the last, and if you stay with me to the very end, you'll hear the final truth that pulls them all together, the truth that makes sense of every single smell, stain, and sensation. So let's begin. The first thing most women don't know is simple, but life-changing. Your vagina is supposed to smell like a vagina, not flowers, not soap, and certainly not perfume. That unique scent is your body's fingerprint, your personal signature of health. Trying to erase it is like painting over a warning light on your car's dashboard. Which brings me to the second truth. Perfumed products are the enemy of balance. Scented toilet paper, sprays, powders, wipes, all of these seem harmless, even elegant. But inside they stir up irritation, dryness, even infections. The very problem you were trying to hide suddenly becomes worse. And here's the twist. This isn't just about smell. These products can disturb the delicate chemistry that protects you, a secret we'll circle back to in the final part. So if covering up makes things worse, what about the fluids themselves? Why are there so many colors, textures, and surprises after 60? I'll share that in just a moment. For many women over 60, the mystery doesn't come from pain or from sudden emergencies. It comes from something quieter, something that creeps into daily life without warning, the marks left behind in underwear. A spot here, a streak there, sometimes heavier, sometimes lighter. Some women dismiss it, others worry about it endlessly, but nearly everyone asks themselves the same thing. Is this just my age showing, or is it a sign that something is deeply wrong? And the cruel part is, most of the time no one explains it. You might hear a quick phrase like, it's just discharge, but what does that really mean? It's hardly comforting because discharge is not one thing at all. It's a language, a code, and unless someone teaches you how to read it, you're left with guesswork and anxiety. So let's begin decoding. And I'll warn you, some of this may surprise you. There are colors that look alarming but usually aren't. Red, brown, pink, white, clear, even cream-colored discharge can all be part of your body's normal rhythm. Red or brown may simply be old blood making its way out slowly. Pink may come from tiny changes in delicate tissue. White, cream, or clear fluids are often the result of natural cleaning processes, your body quietly doing its work in the background. These shades may look unsettling, but in most cases they are your system taking care of itself. But then there's the other side, the shades that demand your attention. Green, yellow, gray, and certain unusual browns are not friendly colors. They are your body's flare gun, a signal that balance has been disturbed. These often point to infections or irritations that will not resolve on their own. Ignoring them means letting the problem grow, and that is when a minor issue can turn into something serious. Now here's the detail almost no one bothers to mention. Even within the so-called safe colors, changes matter. If that white discharge suddenly turns thick and clumpy, if the brown starts carrying a sharp odor, if a pink flow appears at a time when bleeding makes no sense, those aren't accidents, they're clues. They're whispers from your body that the environment has shifted. And if you know how to listen, you can act early instead of waiting for a crisis. This is why discharge isn't embarrassing, and it isn't dirty. It isn't even really the problem. It's a messenger, carrying vital information about the state of your intimate health. And once you understand the code, you hold the power. You no longer have to panic every time you see something unexpected, because you'll know whether it's a friend doing its job or a warning you shouldn't ignore. But fluids don't just speak in colors. Sometimes the message shows up in what they leave behind, underwear that looks stained, bleached, or even eaten through in tiny holes. Many women fear this means something toxic or destructive, but the truth is more fascinating than frightening. and that's exactly what I'll reveal in the next part. You might expect the mysteries of vaginal health to show up in big, dramatic ways, a sudden pain, a change you can't ignore. But often the most unsettling signs are the quiet ones. They don't shout, they whisper. A small mark on underwear, a pale patch where the fabric looks bleached, a series of tiny holes that appear as if the cloth itself has been eaten away. Many women notice this in their 60s and beyond, and the thoughts begin to swirl. Is this an infection? Is my body toxic? Is it destroying itself from the inside out? Some women keep it to themselves, too embarrassed to ask, while others grow quietly afraid, replacing underwear in silence. But here is the reality you were likely never told. These little marks are not warnings of decay, and they do not mean your body is dangerous. In truth, they are proof of one of the most powerful protective forces your body still holds. Your vagina is naturally acidic, and that acidity is strong enough to bleach fabric over time. It explains those pale streaks and fragile patches. Far from being a sign that something is wrong, it shows that your internal environment is alive, working, and still defending you. The fascinating part is that this acidity is not new. It has been present since your earliest years of maturity, quietly shaping your health in ways you may never have realized. It has helped you through decades of change, menstruation, childbirth, menopause, adjusting and recalibrating as your hormones shifted. And even now, long after those cycles have ended, this acidic balance continues to serve as your body's first line of defense. When you think about it, those small bleach marks on fabric aren't flaws. They are visible proof of a system that has never stopped protecting you. Acidity is your silent shield. It creates an environment where harmful bacteria struggle to survive, where yeast cannot take hold as easily, and where infections find no welcome. This hidden force is working for you even when you aren't thinking about it. And although society has taught women to see acid as something harsh or damaging, in this case, it is your unseen guardian, a quiet protector that keeps balance in your most intimate space. Still, there's a tension here, because while acidity can protect, it can also be disturbed. Changes in hormones, shifts in lifestyle, even something as routine as medication can throw this delicate balance off course. And the consequences can be immediate: itching, burning, irritation, and fluids that no longer behave the way they once did. For many women, this shift happens suddenly after a round of antibiotics, a pill taken to help the body in one area that ends up creating chaos in another. So while those pale stains on underwear are a reminder of your body's strength, they also hint at just how fragile that balance can be. When acidity is stable, it protects you, but when it is disrupted, doors open to problems you never asked for. And in the next part of this journey, we'll explore exactly how modern medicine, with all its benefits, can quietly sabotage your defenses, and why so many women find themselves dealing with irritation and infection just when they thought they were healing. Modern medicine is often celebrated as a miracle, and rightly so. A small pill can stop an infection before it spreads, prevent complications, and even save a life. But sometimes the very treatment that heals in one place creates trouble in another, and the consequences show up in ways women least expect. You finish a round of antibiotics, thinking you've left illness behind, and within days or weeks an unwelcome itching begins. Burning follows, the sensation of rawness makes every movement uncomfortable, and fluids take on a different form entirely. What was meant to help your health now feels like it has stolen your comfort. The hidden reason lies in that delicate balance we spoke about earlier, the acidic environment that quietly protects you. Antibiotics, while powerful against harmful bacteria, do not discriminate. They sweep through the body like a storm, destroying good bacteria alongside the bad. In the vagina, that loss of friendly bacteria creates an open field where yeast can grow unchecked. The result is what so many women recognize immediately: a yeast infection. And this isn't rare. In fact, the risk climbs sharply, with somewhere between 10 and 30% of women developing a yeast infection after antibiotics. Sometimes it happens immediately, but often the effects linger, striking weeks later, long after the medicine is gone. And yet the story doesn't end there, because yeast is not only uncomfortable, it can be shared. Many women are startled to discover that intimacy during an infection spreads the problem beyond themselves. A partner who performs oral sex can develop an infection of the mouth and throat, commonly called thrush. From there it can be passed back and forth, each person reinfecting the other in an endless cycle of discomfort, unless both receive treatment. What begins as a simple prescription for a chest cold can spiral into weeks of irritation, awkward conversations, and the frustration of recurring symptoms. It is important to understand that this doesn't mean antibiotics should be feared or avoided. They are essential when truly needed, but they also demand awareness. Knowing that yeast infections can follow allows you to act sooner, to ask for protective medication alongside antibiotics, to recognize the signs early rather than waiting for misery to build. This foresight changes everything. What once felt like an unpredictable and embarrassing surprise becomes something you can anticipate, manage, and even prevent. But infections don't always come from medicine. Sometimes they sneak in through something far more ordinary, something that happens not because of pills, but because of the way the body itself was designed. And it's in that design, where openings sit far too close together, that the most common type of infection finds its way in. That is where we'll go next. Some women believe infections only come from outside sources, from partners, from new exposures, from situations that feel out of the ordinary. But the truth is, the most common infections many women face after 60 don't begin with anything unusual at all. They come from the simple geography of the human body, a design that seems almost careless. 3 openings, sitting so close together that it takes only the smallest slip in hygiene for trouble to begin. Consider how easily it happens. A hand moves from back to front. An object is used without thought to direction. Even something as ordinary as wiping the wrong way can transfer bacteria from the anus to the vagina, and worst of all, to the urethra. That tiny tube, shorter in women than in men, provides a direct path into the bladder. Once bacteria make their way inside, a urinary tract infection begins. The symptoms are unmistakable: burning, urgency, the sense that you must go again immediately after you've just been. For some women, it feels like fire. For others, it feels like pressure. But for nearly everyone, it is miserable. And yet here is the twist that so few women were ever told. These infections are not proof that you are dirty, nor that you have been careless. They are the predictable outcome of an anatomical arrangement that places the anus, the vagina, and the urethra side by side. The body may be brilliant in many ways, but here the design leaves women vulnerable. That is why urinary tract infections are far more common in women than men, and why they often recur, striking again and again despite careful living. But vulnerability does not mean helplessness. Small, deliberate habits make a difference: wiping from front to back, washing with plain, unscented water rather than harsh soaps, changing out of damp clothing quickly instead of letting moisture linger. These simple adjustments act like quiet barriers, preventing bacteria from gaining a foothold in the first place. And for women who find infections returning often, further strategies, sometimes dietary, sometimes medical, can provide another layer of defense. So while it may feel unfair that something so basic as going to the bathroom or enjoying intimacy can invite infection, the truth is that awareness restores power. Knowing the risk is built into design allows you to take control of it, instead of feeling blindsided when it happens again. And speaking of design, there is another feature of the female body that most women were never taught, something that hides in plain sight. It is part of your anatomy, but many women don't even realize it exists, a tiny fold with surprising importance for hygiene and intimacy alike. And that is where we go next. Most women think they know every curve and contour of their body by the time they reach 60. After all, it has been with you through decades of change, from the first stirrings of adolescence to the transitions of menopause. And yet there is a small piece of anatomy that even many medical professionals rarely mention, something that quietly shapes hygiene, comfort, and sometimes even pleasure. It is there from the beginning, but it goes unnoticed until it begins to cause problems. This overlooked structure is the vulvar foreskin. Yes, just as men have foreskin, so do women, a small hood of skin that covers and protects the clitoris. Over time, natural secretions collect beneath it, forming a substance known as smegma. Left alone, it can build up and cause irritation, itching, or odor. Most women were never told that gently retracting this hood and cleaning beneath it is a normal and important part of care. And here is a surprising truth: one of the simplest ways to keep this area naturally clean is through self-pleasure. Masturbation encourages the skin to move, preventing buildup and allowing the body's natural fluids to rinse away what doesn't belong. In this way, something long whispered about as shameful is in fact one of your body's oldest hygiene tools. But while that foreskin can collect, fluids themselves carry another kind of hidden power. Vaginal fluids are not just moisture, they can also act as carriers. For women who have ever had herpes, whether the oral kind that shows up as cold sores or the genital kind, these fluids can play a role in triggering outbreaks. The virus is clever, and when conditions are just right, it reactivates. A kiss after oral contact, fingers moving between mouth and vulva, or even the simple shifts in discharge at certain points of the month can awaken the virus from its hiding place. The result may be an outbreak in a spot you least expect, sometimes years after the first infection. This is why so many women are caught off guard. They believe herpes belongs only to the lips or only to the genitals, yet the virus moves easily between the two. HSV-1, once thought to be only oral, is now just as likely to appear in the genitals. Fluids provide the bridge, creating pathways that are invisible until symptoms suddenly appear. So the lesson is not to live in fear, but to understand the hidden ways your body works. A small fold of skin can trap more than you realize, and the fluids you've always taken for granted can shape your health in ways that surprise you. And just as pain once thought to be ordinary cramps can in fact signal something entirely different, there are other symptoms worth paying closer attention to. Pains that come suddenly, sharply, and make you wonder if something inside has broken. That's what we'll unravel next. Some changes in a woman's body make themselves known quietly, but others arrive like a bolt of lightning. A sudden stab of pain in the lower abdomen, so sharp it takes your breath away. For a moment you wonder, is this my appendix? Did something rupture inside me? Many women over 60 dismiss these moments as digestion or aging, but the truth is often something else entirely. This pain has a name, Mittelschmerz. It happens during ovulation, when the ovary releases an egg. For some it's a dull ache, but for others it feels like an explosion from the inside out. The reason it's so unsettling is because it can so easily mimic emergencies like appendicitis. Women have rushed to hospitals in panic, only to discover the pain was simply ovulation, and while it's not dangerous in itself, it matters to notice, because cysts and other issues can hide behind that same pain. Recognizing the timing and keeping track of patterns turns fear into awareness, and that knowledge is power. But ovulation pain is just one piece of a bigger truth. Across this journey, we've uncovered 14 secrets about smells, fluids, stains, infections, anatomy, and outbreaks, and they all connect to the same revelation: balance is everything. It is balance that explains why some fluids are harmless, while others demand attention. Balance that makes acidity both a protector and a destroyer of fabric. Balance that determines whether intimacy leaves you glowing or leaves you with irritation. When balance holds, you feel well. When it tips, discomfort, odor, infection, and pain creep in. And the good news is this: balance is not lost forever. Even after 60, your body is still speaking to you, through its smells, its fluids, its signals. It is asking for care, for attention, for small daily choices that keep this intimate ecosystem steady. You don't need perfumes, powders, or shame. What you need is awareness, the kind that helps you tell the difference between normal and abnormal, between healthy and harmful. So as we close, I want you to remember this: those 14 truths aren't random facts. They're threads in a single fabric, all pointing back to one lesson. Your vagina isn't failing you, it's guiding you. And when you learn to listen, you reclaim both confidence and control. If you found one of these truths surprising, share it in the comments below. I promise you, you're not the only one who thought she was the only one. This is a space for women to speak openly, to learn from one another, and to take back the knowledge we were too often denied. And if you want more of these intimate conversations, subscribe and stay with us, because there is so much more waiting to be uncovered together.